Alright, what's going on YouTube? It has been a minute since we were able to do a mod video, and I'm happy to hopefully be back a little bit more consistently. But we're going to be checking out one of my favorite subclasses slash classes that came out, I believe, a couple of months ago. I just never got a chance to record it. This is the Final Fantasy VII Red Mage class slash subclass. For those who are familiar with Final Fantasy XIV or Final Fantasy XI if you played that, the Red Mage is a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none type of class. They can specialize in all types of magic, but they really don't excel at any type. They're also pretty proficient with their rapier as their main weapon of choice, or in this case, you can use a rapier or a staff. The subclass we're going to be checking out with the class is going to be the Duelist. In another video, I'll take on the Tactician as well. The Duelist is going to be the subclass that allows you to use a rapier for follow-up combos as you cast magic, and we'll kind of explain how the combat role goes with using the Red Mage. It's a little bit different than some of the other classes and subclasses that I've covered thus far. So at level 1, you will get a corpse-to-corpse action. This action propels you forward into the target and thrusts in your equipped weapon into it. It doesn't provoke any opportunity of attacks. As you can see, next to using a bonus action, it also uses the 20 black magic gauge and then 20 of the white magic gauge. I will explain that a little bit later as we go on through the process, as that is pretty important and is kind of like an additional resource that you'll be using as a red mage. The subclass features that you get is when you're wielding a melee weapon that is not a two-handed or versatile weapon in one hand and no other weapon in the other, you do an additional 2 damage type with that weapon. As the Duelist is going to focus more on using a rapier, that's going to be really powerful for us because a rapier is going to be a one-handed weapon. You can use a shield if you like. However, I feel like this class really excels at just kind of using a rapier on its own. You also get the Defensive Duelist when using a finesse weapon you're proficient with. You can use your reaction to add to your proficiency bonus to your armor class, probably causing the action to miss. And this is again why you want to use something as a rapier. It just makes you a little bit more harder to hit, and you hit a little bit harder. So in terms of recommended, I would recommend going with Charisma at 16. I really don't have to worry about dexterity. I would probably go Constitution. And the reason I say you really don't have to worry about dexterity, even though you are going to be using a rapier as a primary weapon source, there's going to be a weapon that you get from this class itself that is going to be using your spellcasting modifier instead of the weapon modifier itself. So that's why I say Charisma is going to be a little bit more important than dexterity. So proficiency is up to you. This is more role-playing purposes. If you want to do performance, survival, whatever the case may be, that's all more preference to your play style and how you want to roleplay. Now, before we get into level 2, there are a couple of things that I want to showcase here. And there's going to be these attacks here, Scatter and Jolt. Jolt fires a beam of energy towards the target. This is going to be your it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does help you refill the black and white magic gauge by 20 each. It's sort of like a weaker version of the Eldritch Blast, but it's free to resource, and you can always use that if you're running low on resources, such as your Black Mage or your spell slots. Now, as you saw here, whenever using this ability, you saw something called Dual Cast. After casting spell, you can cast a second one without costing an action or a bonus action. This allows you to use 2 spells at once, and then you can follow up with your bonus action. So, for example, I can use Jolt, and then the second ability, I can use Scatter, which is going to be an area effect ability, which also refills the black and white mage gauge, which this is really strong in groups of enemies because it refills several points each per target touch. So if you have a group of like 4 or 5 enemies, you cast that. It is a good way to quickly refill your black mage and your white mage gauge. And again, we'll explain these here in a second as we kind of level up and we get more abilities to use. We actually need a melee weapon for this, and we'll explain that a little bit later as well. So let's go ahead and level up to level 2. Alright, so level 2, this is where we're going to get our first 2 spells, Ver Thunder and Ver Arrow. Ver Thunder is going to be a basic thunder, basic lightning spell. Cast a electric arc towards the target and refills the black mage gauge by 40%. This will use a spell slot, but again, the whole purpose of this class is to use spells to fill up your black mage and your white mage gauge so you can use stronger melee attacks. Same thing with the Ver Arrow. It's more of like an area of effect attack. You use that. It refills the white mage gauge by 40%, or by 40, I apologize. And then you also gain a new spell. Now, you also get a interesting spell called Merglius, and I'm butchering that, and I apologize. This is a single-use spell that summons a rapier and adds it to your inventory. So we'll go ahead and pick our spell here, which honestly the spells here don't really matter as much, as I feel like you're not really going to be using a lot of these spells more so than maybe compel Duelist if you want to target a certain enemy and give them at a disadvantage. Or you can always use the armor of Athos or Akathis. I again butchering names, I apologize. Mage armor I really want to use because the armor you're going to be getting is going to be considered, I believe, light armor, and that's not really going to help you. Or you could do False Life, that's also pretty decent beginner stages. But I would say do something like Compel Duelist. So we're going to accept this, but we're not going to level up to level 3, as I do want to showcase the next ability here real quick. This is going to be the Murgless. Again, I'm butchering that. So once you cast this, you'll see that you get an item in the inventory. And it's going to be the Murgless. It's going to be pretty much your standard weapon that you're going to be using. Instead of using the modifier of dexterity, use your incantation characteristic modifier on your weapon attack rolls. And since we are primarily using charisma, that is what we're going to be using whenever we are going to use our melee attacks. So that's why we want to prioritize charisma pretty much over any other stat here. At level 3, we get Ver Thunder 2 and we get Ver Arrow 2. These are going to be enhanced versions of these spells previously, but we're going to be using level 2 spell slots. The cool thing about this is that this will actually go through enemies, and the more enemies you hit with this spell, the more of the black mage gauge that you will feel. 14 points per target touched. Same thing with the Ver Arrow. The more enemies you touch with this, the more white mage gauge you'll feel by 14. You'll get a new subclass feature, which is going to be sort of the combo that you're going to be doing. You have learned Enhanced Riposte, a weapon technique using red magic. Enhanced Riposte. Skillfully strike the target with a red mage coated weapon and begin the melee combo. The melee combo is going to be very important. It's going to allow you to use, I believe, up to 2 or 3 attacks to combo into and do heavy damage. At level 4, we're going to get a just a basic heal spell, nothing really too special. Gives a bonus action, costs 40 black mage, white mage. Again, you're not going to be really specializing in healing or anything like that. It's kind of like an emergency heal that I believe does scale with your level. You get another additional spell here. Again, pick what you choose. Misty Step is pretty strong. See Invisibility is pretty good as well. Magic Weapon, if you like. Again, that's a concentration weapon, so be mindful. Detect Thoughts is also pretty good as well. You get your first feat, and I would just go with Ability Improvement. Go ahead and go with Charisma, bump that up to 18. Alright, at level 5, you're going to get a majority of your spells here. It's going to be a enhanced version of the Ver Thunder, Ver Arrow. For Fire, you'll get a new spell, and then Ver Stone. So, Ver Fire. This is basically your Fireball spell. Does a good amount of damage and also leaves the attack where it hits on fire for 3 turns. Again, apologize. It's been a while since I made these videos, but this is very strong as it does refill the black mage gauge by 60, but also uses a level 3 spell slot. So again, this character is going to be using different types of resources to do different types of damage, kind of reverting back to filling up the black mage and white mage gauge as quickly as possible so you can use your melee combo attacks. Verse Stone summons a barrage of sharp stones at the target, slashing all directions, has an advantage on attack roll, and this refills the white mage gauge by 60%, also uses a level 3 spell slot. Ver Thunder 3, this is going to replace essentially your Ver Thunder, so you can also take that off the hotbar. So you'll be using Ver Thunder 3 moving forward. This is also going to be using a level 1 spell slot. This shoots a powerful lightning bolt at the target. This doesn't pierce through, so it is a single target spell. As you can see here, this refills the black mage gauge by 40%. So while it is only using a level 1 spell slot, it is very strong in regards to filling up the black mage gauge. Same thing with Ver Arrow 3. This is going to reverse the standards part of Ver Arrow, which is obsolete. It summons a powerful gust of wind to the target, cutting it from both sides. It also gives an advantage on attack roll, and this refills your magic gauge by 40%, also using a level 1 spell slot. The 2 subclass features you'll get is Immediate Duelist. Your training is paid off, and I'm going to butcher this word, and you guys know I'm going to butcher it. You can now follow up with Enhanced Zerachu? Can't pronounce that. After using an Enhanced Riposte. And then this also gives you the ability to summon Barello, which is another rapier, and that's its inventory. It's pretty much going to be a stronger version of the rapier that you have now. And then we have the follow-up action of Enhanced Zerchau. Again, butchering that, I apologize. Delivers a diagonal strike at the target with the red mage coated weapon to bring it down. So, as you can see, it uses an action and also uses the 20 black mage gauge, 20 white mage gauge, but as we noticed before, you do have the ability to use dual casting. So I believe if my testing is correct, you can actually dual cast this and combo up from the enhanced riposte. At level 6, we're gonna get a raise, which allows us to raise our allies for 1 hit point. As you can see, it is very high resource heavy. It's going to be costing 80 Black Mage Gauge and 80 White Mage Gauge, which is going to be significant really early on. So I would say you only use this as a last resort. We get the ability to pick another spell. Again, a lot of these are going to be vanilla spells, or they're going to be spells that you get from Mistress add-on spells, which is compatible with the Red Mage. So if you have that installed, you get a couple other options as well here. I would probably go something with Mirror Image, pretty strong. Hypnotic Pattern's pretty good, or Slow. If you want, you can also use Haste. Haste is actually really strong too. Even as concentration spell, it's pretty strong. So I'll go between like Haste and Mirror Image, depending on how your playstyle is. Alright, at level 7, we get another health increase, and then we have 2 additional spells. Verflare and Verholy. Verflare, it cremates and ignites the target's area with flames surrounding from the 9 hells. Ignites flammable surfaces. This is pretty strong, as it also gives the ability to refill the Black Mage Gauge by 20 per target touch, so this is a really good area of effect spell. It is high costing at a level 4 spell slot, so it is high costing, but it could be a good way to refill your Black Mage Gauge pretty high, depending on how many targets you hit. Verholy, radiates the target area with generating light, obliterating the enemy's use to come to it. Pretty good to use probably in the Underdark and other sections of that, or enemies that are really weak against Radiant. There's also an area effect spell. It does it refills 20 points of the White Mage Gauge per hit, so again, very strong and a very good way to refill your Black Mage and White Mage Gauge quickly. However, it also costs a level 4 spell slot. Expert Duelist. Your fluidity and movement allows you to use Enhanced Redoublement after Enhanced Zuchalu. Again, I'm butchering that and I apologize. Completing your chain of Red Mage weapon techniques. Enhanced Redoublement. Utilizes Fencing Master to deliver a powerful blow to the target with a Red Mage coated weapon. So this is going to be the final of your triple combo. So you're going to be able to use Enhanced Riposte, Enhanced, I'm going to butcher this, Chiraltru, and then Enhanced Redoublement. So this is going to be really, really strong to combo all 3 of those abilities to do significant amounts of damage to a single target. And that's kind of the whole point of this class, is to refill the Black Mage and Red Mage Gauge as quickly as you can, and then go in with the melee attack. Because not a lot of targets also are resistant to force damage, so it's really, really strong throughout the entire game. At level 8, we have some new abilities. Fletch. Project a magical replica of the equipped weapon onto the target, dealing devastating damage. So basically, if you have a very strong weapon on you, you can use that to essentially make a replica of the equipped weapon, hit the target with it, do a significant amount of damage. Acceleration. The Red Mage flowing through your veins temporarily enhances your common abilities. The next spell you cast will not cost an action or a bonus action, and damage will increase by 8 points of force damage. This is 1 turn, and it's a concentration spell. Now, I don't know what resources this costs, because it doesn't really list anything, so it may not cost a resource. It may be something you can cast to kind of help with your combo ability. So you also gain a spell, and then you get another subclass feature, Tailkeeper. Special one-time use. This summons the Tailkeeper, which is going to be the next level up of your Rapier. You can replace a spell, and you get another feat. So again, depending on what you want to pick here, Resilient Spear is pretty good. Dimension Door is pretty strong. Slow is pretty good. If you want to enhance your weapons with magical abilities for concentration, that's also really strong. However, you're going to be sacrificing things such as haste whenever you use that. So I'd probably go with something, maybe Freedom of Movement if you're having trouble with like being paralyzed, or Dimension Door to kind of get through some of the puzzles in the game. You can always come back and replace these later on. Another feat, I would just go ahead and bump this up to 20 at this point, get your charisma as high as possible. At level 9, another health increase, and then we get the Scorch. It creates a force field that detonates those too weak to resist. On target, on save, it still takes half the damage. This refills the Black Mage and the White Mage Gauge at 20 points per target touch. This is a very powerful spell. It does a good amount of damage, force damage, but also uses a level 5 spell slot. So this is really going to be one of those attacks that you want to do as much damage as possible. Also refill your Black Mage and White Mage gauge as quickly as possible. Depending on how you do this, you can refill this up to 100%, and that allows you to combo into your melee attacks. And I'm going to butcher this again. Enhance Mulent. Performs a Puriet with a red magic coated weapon, sweeping nearly everything around. Sorry, dyslexia. So this allows you to do a sweeping attack to enemies in front of you. Pretty good as a way to hit multiple enemies at once. At level 10, another health increase, and then we get some level 5 spells. Contre Sixte, butchering names. Projects 3 magical replicas of the equipped weapon to the target, dealing 7 to 25 damage each. Very, very strong. However, it is a level 5 spell slot, and this does not refill the Black Mage or the White Mage gauge. Emboldenment. You concentrate your red magic and infuse it into the allies around you, increasing their damage by 3 to 12 force damage for 5 turns. This is a strong concentration spell, so if you have enemies that are weak to force and you want to be able to kind of exploit that with like maybe your fighter or your monk, you're able to give that to them and imbue them with the abilities of the red magic, essentially, which is force magic in this. It is a bonus action, it's a concentration spell for 5 turns, and it is a level 5 spell slot. So I would say be very careful with that, and I would say with the next ability point, you may want to get like Warcaster to be able to hold on to that concentration spell. Getting another spell slot, as you can see here, the choices that we get are very limited just because that is kind of the way of the red mage. You can dip your toes in certain aspects, but you can't really specialize in everything. I would say probably you can go with the Falnar Binding if you want. Resilient Sphere is pretty good. Slow's pretty good. Again, any of these are pretty strong. Probably see Invisibility is really good throughout the entire game, but it's low resource cost at level 2 spell slot. All right, at level 11, not really too much here. You get another spell here, Resolution. You concentrate all your willpower to shoot a beam of magic straight ahead, decimating all life forms within it. This refills the Black Mage and the White Mage gauge by 40 per target touch, but it is a level 6 spell slot, and I think you only get 1. So this is really something that, okay, I want to do as much damage as possible, I want to refill the gauge as much as possible, but I want things to also potentially die. Really good for helping mob clearing, low-level mobs that are surrounding boss enemies and things like that, or if you're able to hit multiple boss enemies at the same time. Really good spell to have. And then we have the Manderville Rapier. This is another spell here that we can summon to get another upgrade to our Rapier. With this character, you're not really have to worry about weapons as much. Armor you'll still have to get throughout the game up until level 12, which we'll showcase here next. I believe it's level 12. But for weapons, you just want to kind of hold on to the weapon that you have now unless you get something a little bit better, as you'll increasingly get stronger weapons as you level up. Now, you can stop at level 12 with this class. At level 12, you'll get the Red Mage Gear. A single special use spell summons your Red Mage hat, cape, armor, gloves, boots, and adds them to your inventory, which are very significant and is a really good, like, hard stopping point for the class, as it gives you some significant buffs that we'll go over in a second. You'll get a level 6 spell here, Transmutation spell. You enter a state of fullness, completely recharging your Black Mage gauge and White Mage gauge. I believe this is a bonus action that you use once per long rest. You also get another spell here. Again, the spells that you have are very limited, so if there's something that you didn't pick up last time that you want now. And then the final feat, I would personally go with something such as Warcaster, which helps with concentration spells. So if you're using a lot of the concentration spells that buff your allies or yourself, this is something that's really strong to use. Now, we're going to stop at level 12 here. You can go up to level 20 if you like, but we're going to stop at level 12 just so I can go ahead and showcase these abilities here. I believe the last one that we get is the Manderville Rapier, which is the strongest rapier that you get. As you see here, it is a legendary weapon. Very strong, and it not only does it give you the Carmine Duelist, which allows you to use your incantation characteristic modifier as your weapon attack rolls. You also get Weapon Mastery, which you ignore resistance to piercing damage to the target you're attacking. Purple Fencer, you get a +2 to attack rolls from melee attack. Crimson Splendor, your value of Charisma increases by 2 up to a maximum of 21. So, if you look at our character, we see our Charisma is maxed out to 21. Now, we also have the spell, I believe it is, let me try and find it here, there is a lot here. Alright, so it was a little bit of a bug here, but you should get the ability to use the spell to summon the Red Mage outfit here, which they all give significant buffs. The Red Mage hat allows you to increase your Charisma value up to 2, increase it up to 23, which is why I said Charisma is going to be a really strong stat. You'll also get the spell of Vermilion Scourge, which here, the quintessential power of the Red Mage is unleashed in an ethereal surge, ripping through the space-time, leaving its wake a scarlet tableau of unparalleled power. Now, this uses all of your Black Mage and White Mage gauge, and it's action here. Now, I will showcase this also in combat, but as you can see, it is very, very strong. It will do a good area effect amount of damage, but you can only use it once per long rest, so we're not going to waste it here. I'll try and showcase that in combat. Moving on to the Red Mage Cape. Red Mage Overflow. When the Black Mage Gauge and White Mage Gauge are filled at 100% in your attack, you get Red Mage Overflow for 4 turns, increases your force damage by 4. Black Mage Overflow. When the Black Mage Gauge is filled at 100%, and you get Black Mage Overflow for 4 turns, increases your lightning and fire damage by 4. And then White Mage Overflow, when your White Mage Gauge is full, you'll get White Mage Overflow, increases your thunder, acid, and radiant damage by 4, and increases your arcana by 1. Red Mage Armor, again, legendary light armor. This is why I say you really don't want to get Mage Armor. Magic advantage. As long as your Black Mage Gauge and your White Mage Gauge are filled at least 40 each, you'll get benefit from an advantage on all saving throws. Mystical Armor. You receive a +1 bonus to your DD saving throws against spells such as their ranged attack rolls, as well as your ranged attack rolls, sorry. You'll also get a ranged spell attack increase by 1, and then Magic Barrier. What Magic Barrier allows you to do is you draw on the Red Mage to apply a magical barrier to a character temporarily, granted them temporary life points as protection. So depending on how much you want to spend, you get 35, 28, 21, 14, and 7. Now, I would say if you're going to use this, because it's up until long rest, you can apply it to your entire team, or if you want to give you more tanky characters a little bit more bonus help for yourself, I would say definitely use that. This will take up all of your Black Mage and Red Mage, so just be mindful whenever you decide to use the upcasted version of these spells. Don't mind that. Leave me a low Windows. And then you have the Red Mage Gloves. Ethereal, precision. The result you need to get on a dice for your attack to result in a critical hit is reduced by 2. This effect is cumulative, so if you have a lot of items that will lower your crit chance, you will be a crit monster with this character. Esoteric Hype. After successfully completing a critical hit or killing a creature, the Black Mage Gauge and the White Mage Gauge are filled up by 10 points each. So as soon as you kill an enemy, that also refills your Black Mage and your White Mage Gauge. And then finally, we have the Red Mage Boots. Gauge Dance. The more the Black Magic and the White Magic Gauge are filled, the more you gain in movement distance. You get 1 meter extra movement for every 10 gauges. The first level starts at 20. So from 20 to 100, you'll get 1 extra meter of movement speed. So if you're maxed out, you can go pretty far. Enhanced Shoes. As long as your Black Mage Gauge and White Mage Gauge are filled to at least 20, difficult terrain no longer slows you down. So you get a lot of benefits from getting this armor. It's very obviously late game armor. The one caveat is I don't like how the hat kind of hides your hair. So I just have it hide against the helmet, but very, very strong abilities with these items here. I'll showcase a couple of abilities, and then as always, I'll go into a combat scenario where I try and showcase real life practicality for these abilities, as some of them are a little bit harder to showcase without actually going into combat, especially the kind of combo abilities here. So
Tenebra. On my way. You first.
This feels good.
My faith will protect me. Heading there.
The witching hour. On my way.
Think you can take me on?
Let's turn someone inside out.